First off tonight, throughout much of Chicago's history, the skyline of the Southeast Side has been smokestacks and its residents worked at the manufacturers under them. But over the years, all that industry has taken a toll, harming both the natural environment and the health of residents. In recent months, the tension between industry and community has escalated as protests erupted against metal scrapper General Iron's proposed relocation to the Southeast Side. And while activists say the area has been overburdened with industry, some residents say they need the manufacturing jobs more than ever. Joining us now with more are Erica Swenny Staley, Executive Director of the Chicago-based economic and community development nonprofit Manufacturing Renaissance, and Gina Ramirez, activist and Midwest Outreach Manager for the Natural Resources Defense Council. Gina, let's start with you. This week, the Chicago City Council approved a measure tightening rules on industrial operations and recycling centers in an attempt to address air pollution in communities like the Southeast Side. What are your thoughts on that legislation?
The legislation doesn't go far enough. We have been trying to work on this legislation with the mayor's office for a few months, and a lot of watered down versions ended up getting passed. And so there really needed to be more community input in this process, which is something that we are always urging. And it is notable to note that 12 aldermen and all of the big greens within the Chicago area were against this ordinance because they didn't think it was strong enough either.
Erica, do you believe it's important to maintain a manufacturing presence in the city of Chicago?
Yes, in short. I mean, there is a crisis level unemployment, especially in Black and Brown communities, especially in youth and young adult populations. Currently, there are 58,000 jobs, manufacturing jobs going unfilled. Overall, these are high quality, good paying jobs. They offer diverse career pathways. I mean, everything from production, machining, but also going into STEM careers like in engineering and robotics and IT, and even up to ownership. Business ownership is an opportunity. So this is really a strategic sector, and actually it's going to be an especially strategic sector as part of advancing sustainable development, and especially in context of global climate change. So this is manufacturing jobs are really going to be part of our economy for a long time, and we need to get more of our community folks in these good jobs.
Well, let me ask you this as a follow-up. Do you think manufacturers who are planning to relocate to the Southeast Side and say the West Side, do they need to do more to protect the environment and the residents there from pollution?
I think this is a much bigger problem than any individual company or even any individual community can solve independently. I mean, this kind of development is happening in context of environment that's already harmed. This is any new development that's happening is in context of decades of concentrated environmental pollution, especially in communities of color, as a result of institutionalized racism in zoning and policies of that guide where these kind of companies can go. So these aren't pristine environments to begin with. So yes, I mean, so this is something that requires, and this is why we advocate for an industrial policy, that it's time to put a lot more planning and strategic planning in how and where we locate industrial development. We need it. We absolutely need these jobs. We need good jobs. We need clean jobs, but it needs to be in context of a much more regional perspective and not just pitting one community or one community group against one business to hash it out, because oftentimes the community groups are the ones to lose out.
Gina, some activists sometimes point to the nearby Method factory in Pullman as an example of good actors in the neighborhood industry. What do you think they're doing right?
The Method factory is a really great example in Pullman. It brings economic vitality without being a hazard to the community's health. And we're at a crossroads right now. We can choose to continue to be on this path of abusing the land, air, and water in our communities, or we can bring jobs like the Method Pullman factory that are restorative and sustainable.
Well, Gina, these industries offer jobs with low barriers to entry in the neighborhood. What do you say to the argument that these communities need these kind of jobs nearby?
At the end of the day, our health should be a priority and not a subsidy to dirty jobs. So RMG claims to be a state-of-the-art facility, but with the bar set so low in Illinois in terms of laws and permitting, that doesn't really mean anything. Essentially, anyone that applies for a permit is going to receive one because of the way neighborhoods like the Southeast Side are zoned.
Well, Erica, the Southeast Side has historically been where very large industrial operations were located and seek to locate, but should Chicago be trying to attract smaller manufacturers instead?
That's a great question. I mean, and actually, Chicago has a really unique opportunity. Not unique, it's actually common around the United States. Most manufacturing companies are actually smaller, family-owned businesses. And actually in Chicago, just with some research, recent research, we found that about 2,000 out of 6,000 manufacturing companies in the Chicagoland area are in risk of closing just only because of lack of a successor. So these are companies already in our communities that hire our neighbors, that it's our neighbors who could be next in line to own these companies. These are jobs that already exist, and we think we should be working much more proactively to keep some of these smaller manufacturers in our community. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, smaller companies tend to be on the whole locally owned. They tend to be much more, have an identity with the surrounding community and tend to be much more responsive and interested in learning and adapting to the needs of the community. So I definitely, that's who we've worked with over the years, and they are definitely a critical part of the sector that needs support.
Gina, we just have a short second, so I'll leave you with the last question. The Illinois International Port District is on the east side, and they're looking to expand operations, and their plan says it's balances community and the environment needs with the industry. Given the current and historic presence in the area, do you trust them to do what they say they're going to do?
Just from my past experience with all of the concentration of industry in our neighborhood, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. And, we just really need to get rid of the toxic legacy that exists on the Southeast Side. So let's get to work.
Our thanks to Erica Staley and Gina Ramirez for joining us.